there are no strings on me.
All right, what is good? What is happening, everybody? It is your boy Carnage, your primitive AK here, back with another video for you guys. And today we got a bombshell amount of information to drop for you guys regarding the current iteration of Warzone, including Modern Warfare and also Warzone 2. So buckle down, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys showing the love and support. A lot of news to cover here, so we're going to be going through everything that took place. Big thank you to Activision, Call of Duty, and Activision for allowing me to actually sit through this call where they discussed a bunch of plans for the game, including the next iteration of Call of Duty. So a lot to cover here. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So one of the first things that we're going to be discussing is some certain quality of life changes that are coming in Season 2, as well as the Season 2.5, essentially the mid-season update. And we have a lot of quality of life changes here that will be available at launch of Season 2. This includes traversal improvements, increasing the mantle height and collision fixes. This was a pretty big issue, especially with climbing mountains and mantle height increases to be able to mount certain objects. A lot of people complained about that, so that will be something that you can see improved in the Season 2. Furthermore, the gas mask is getting a nice little change. This is a big complaint that a lot of people have been complaining about, with gas mask animations interrupting your current gunfights, especially when you're fighting in and out of the gas with other enemies. They have allowed this now so that way the animation will not interrupt your ADS. So if you are in the middle of ADS, you will no longer have that animation going in and out constantly while you're shooting your gun. So that's a great change there. Really happy to see that one come through. Armor plates refills full plate armor before filling damage. So basically what this means, let's say you have 2 plates that are taken out because you took some damage, and the third plate that is left, the last one that's left on your health bar, has just a sliver amount of health, maybe like, let's say, about a centimeter of health taken off of it. Normally what would happen is, if you put that plate, it would actually fill that half filled plate and then actually use the remaining 2, so you would end up using 3 plates regardless. What this is now going to do is that when you put on a plate of armor, and let's say you have 1 plate that's half full still, this will now fill up as an entire plate. So the next tier of your health bar is now also half. So you're basically still getting 1 full plate, rather than it using just an entire plate for a sliver of health. So they're going to be changing that there. Really great change there. Moving on, some vehicles got some handling changes as well. There were a lot of things with the vehicles that they said they sort of messed up a bit. Things got wonky with some of the vehicle changes in the previous map of Warzone, and they never really looked into fixing that. But now that is now fixed, so handling on vehicles is fixed. And moving on, for Season 2, parachutes are able to deploy them at lower vertical height. Basically what this means is that you don't need to be 1,000 feet in the sky to deploy your chute anymore, because sometimes your chute just wouldn't deploy because you weren't high enough, and you would end up taking fall damage. So that is no longer going to be a thing. Moving on, we also have some restrictions here. This is a big change here. Dead silence and stun grenades are now removed from Vanguard Royale. Yes, you heard that right. We will no longer see dead silence and stun grenades inside of Vanguard Royale. They will still be available in regular BR, but you can no longer find or equip any of these equipment or field upgrades inside of Vanguard Royale. So great change there. Moving on, they also have a issue with the stun that was fixed. Aim assist now scales appropriately and will not increase aim assist strength upon being stunned. This was a big issue that a lot of pro players actually complained about, and it's nice to see that they did fix this. So basically, when you get stunned, your aim assist was actually I'm not going to say buffed, but more or less acting a little bit too strong, especially while you were stunned. So this is now going to act more appropriately and will scale appropriately. This will not increase your aim assist strength. Some big nerfs are going to be coming through as well. Fighter planes and gas canisters are getting a fat nerf. Now, in the call, it was actually mentioned whether or not they would remove gas canisters, but it seems like they have no intentions of doing so, which honestly I don't particularly care about. I haven't really died to gas canisters, and I certainly don't use them at all. Although I do agree that the gas canisters feels just sort of out of place with Warzone. I don't really see any use for them, but regardless, They did say they will be nerfing those, and also the fighter planes are getting a heavy nerf as well. So good luck to anyone trying to beat the world record without a fighter plane now. Moving on, we have some anti-air cannon buffs which are going to be coming through. Did not specify exactly what those buffs are going to be, but they did say they will be buffed in the near future. The final circle, also they're going to make some logical changes to the final circle of Warzone. Currently, the final circle tends to end at peak a lot. We weren't entirely sure if this was intentional, but they did state that they will be looking into reducing that so that way it'll less likely end on peak. So hopefully that actually does go through, because pretty much I wouldn't say every game, but a good majority of the games I see do end at peak a lot. And they did actually show us data regarding the game itself, stating that Peak is actually one of the hottest drops right now in Warzone, and I'm sure people hearing this probably already knew this one, but it's nice to see that we do have confirmation. They did state they have heat maps to be able to detect where people are dying the most, and Peak obviously came in at number 1. Moving on, Season 2.5, essentially the mid-season update, is going to have a few changes as well. They do say there are some more things that are in the works, which is going to include the downed. You're actually able to control a resurrect state, prone versus crouch. So basically, what this is doing is that you're able to control whether or not you are going to be prone or crouch after you get rezzed or downed, which is a great change there, because sometimes if you get rezzed, you instantly get back up and then you get one tapped again by the same guy that just downed you. Sometimes you just want to be able to stay prone, that way you can plate up. So that will be coming later on throughout the season. Gas mask, they're going to also add the ability to drop a gas mask. This is cool. I'm not sure what the point of this is, but regardless, any change is a welcome change. I don't see any negative side to this, so I personally don't see an issue with this. I'm just confused as to what the benefit of dropping a gas mask would be. Moving on, armor you'll be able to pick up from another satchel. So basically what this means is that if you are downed on plates, if there's an armor satchel that has plates, you'll be able to pick that up as well. Moving on, they also moved on to some hot topics here. A lot of things that people are concerned about, and a lot of people were concerned because they felt that they were being silent on. And yes, that is the FOV slider. Yes, this was one of the biggest questions that myself and other creators were wondering about in this call with Activision. And they did discuss that the FOV slider is a very well-known concern. Yes, they are very well aware that you guys want FOV slider, but they did state in internal testing that there are frame rate concerns and skill gap concerns, as well as toxicity. Now, the toxicity and skill gap obviously are minuscule to the frame rate concerns, but obviously, I know a lot of people are going to bring up the conversation of, well, we have dead silence in the game, which increases your FOV. Why can't we just add it to the game? Once again, there apparently what they told us is that there is a massive stability issue with the frame FOV slider on previous gen consoles. And one of the biggest things that myself and other creators agreed is that obviously this is a 10-year-old console. Yes, the PS4 is almost 10 years old, or I'm pretty sure it's more than 10 years old. And a lot of people forget that, you know, the hardware is just old. That's really one of the biggest issues with it. And this will bring me on to my next topic regarding Warzone 2. They didn't indirectly confirm that FOV slider will be available for the next iteration of Warzone, but obviously it's very clear that they know that this is a priority for the next game. So my honest observation on this is that you can more than likely expect an FOV slider on Warzone 2. Do not expect an FOV slider on the current iteration of Warzone, due to the amount of data that is in the game and the amount of frame rate issues that will be experienced with this. On top of that, there is also the insinuation that FOV slider could have been added to the next gen consoles, or should I say current gen, PS5 and also the Xbox Series X, but they rose some issues and concerns regarding the skill gap as well as toxicity. They knew for a fact that you could not add an FOV slider to the previous gen consoles, PS4 and also Xbox X. The issue with that was obviously if you add it to the PS5 but not the PS4, you're creating this skill gap where now all the best players are going to be going on PS5, and meanwhile people who still can't get a PS5 due to whatever reason, you know, supply chain issues or any type of chip shortages with the PS5, you know, it's not very easy to get a PS5 right now. This would create this skill gap where now some of the players are stuck on previous gen consoles with older gen hardware and just, no FOV slider. Meanwhile, PC players and PS5 and Xbox Series X actually have it. So they didn't want to create a divide within the community with that. So they felt it was best to just not include this for console at this current time. So for those asking about FOV slider, you can stop asking. It is not coming to Warzone anytime soon. I would more than less expect this for Warzone 2 when this actually comes out. Moving on, they did also mention the Xbox Series X 120 hertz issue. This is another, not necessarily as big as the FOV slider, but it was mentioned in the call that people were concerned about whether or not the 120 hertz on Xbox Series X was actually coming. And apparently, you guys can actually blame Activision for this. Apparently, the SDK was changed to GDK. And if you're asking me exactly what that is, I believe that is simply just the hardware structure that is used for Microsoft's architecture and hardware, similar to like an operating system of some sort. Basically, the protocols will change on the console, and it created hardware limitations. So currently, they are actually waiting on Microsoft to get their act together to sort that out. So for those asking for 120 hertz on Xbox, you guys should definitely direct your concerns to Microsoft, because that's apparently who was at fault for that. Moving on, there was also a Q&A session where we were able to ask questions regarding Moving on, there was actually a Q&A session where we were actually able to ask questions to the developers and also to the team at Activision about things that were big hot topics, obviously the FOV slider being one of them. And our good buddy J God asked a great question regarding old weapons being revisited in the game, such as the Scar, which is an iconic weapon in previous iterations of COD, but it's currently one of the worst weapons in Warzone. So just as an example there, and that was stated that is more than likely not going to happen anytime soon, just simply due to the fact that with integrations, they're always focused on the newer weapons that are coming out, since they're obviously hot. A lot of people are using them, and the usage of the previous weapons typically tend to go down, so it's not worth the time and effort to revisit those other weapons and try to buff those things up. Maybe that'll change in the near future with Warzone 2, but more than likely not. Also, it was asked about the Vanguard zombie camos coming to Warzone. This is another issue that people were concerned about. They were concerned about whether or not this camo will take 6 months to come out, similar to how it was for Cold War. They did state that that is a high priority, and they are looking to get that out as quickly as possible, hopefully under just a couple months. So that is something they're working on as well. One of the biggest hot topics, which I felt was discussed a little bit too much, was actually aim assist on console. A lot of people do have complaints about aim assist being too strong, aim assist rotation giving you quite literal aimbot. Personally, I think aim assist is in a decent spot, but they did state that they are looking into the aim assist concerns due to high level of play. This is more or less a concern for the competitive scene, but they did state that the aim assist in this game is more or less very difficult to tweak due to the fact that this game is the aim assist is actually a core part of the game, and changing certain things within that core can actually mess with other things. So the short answer to the question of the aim assist is more or less they'll look into it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of the way that's kind of my take on the whole thing from what I understood. But they definitely are going to be taking a further look at this, whether or not aim assist is too strong at closer ranges, whether or not it can be tweaked at longer ranges, but it is something that they are aware of and something that they are looking into. Another thing that was discussed was rank play in Warzone. Was that something that was on their radar, something that they're working on, potentially in the not too distant future? And the simple answer is not at this time due to timing. They are aware that ranked play is a huge core part of Call of Duty that helps keep it running, and a lot of people attracted, the hardcore fan base. But the issue is just the timing right now, and also the issue is not screwing it up. They don't want to make a half-assed Warzone ranked play without it being something that they feel is up to standard. So once they feel that things are up to standards on a ranked play, that is something that they are definitely heavily invested into. And one of the questions that I asked actually was regarding bundle appearances. You guys know that I cover bundles pretty much all the time on Warzone. I do like to cover the in-game store items. And one of the biggest things that I get asked in my bundle videos, you guys have actually asked these questions, is whether or not the bundle skins will be changed due to the fact that when you change an attachment on a skin, it actually loses the look of that skin. So I asked if that was something that can be changed or whether or not this was a hard layer with limitation, and they did state that this is something that they do want to change and look at. It's just more or less something they have to figure out how they can go ahead and change this in the near future. But yes, they are looking to fix that so that way the skins will stay consistent when changing attachments. Moving on, some big news about Modern Warfare 2 2022. For most people, you guys probably already know this one through the leaks, and that is just sort of more or less the core things that some people may already know or may not know, and that is Modern Warfare 2 is the new Call of Duty for 2022 later this year. No release date was given. This is a direct sequel to Modern Warfare 2019 with similar characters, I'd assume, for the campaign, so do bear in mind this will be a direct sequel to that. For the Warzone experience, essentially Warzone 2, this is a brand new game being built from the ground up. Yes, this is an entirely new iteration of Warzone. Brand new client, brand new game, everything built from the ground up, which will be running entirely on a brand new engine. I would imagine this is going to be running off of the IW8 engine, or at least some iteration similar to the IW8 engine. They did not state exactly what the engine is, but they did state it is a brand new engine that will be designed specifically for Warzone, which will be designed from the ground up, which is essentially Warzone 2. But anyways, guys, there was a few other things that were discussed in the call that we unfortunately cannot discuss, so I will leave that for you guys to learn at a later date once more details are available and we get closer to release date. But guys, I do want to make it very clear before we end today's video that the developers do put a lot of effort and time and love into this game. Obviously, you know, sometimes we all complain on Twitter, or shoot, I even complain on Twitter about dying to some bogus, but I do want to make it very clear, and they made it very, very clear to us, that they do very much care about Warzone, and we definitely did get that vibe from the developers in this call, and it's nice to see that they really do care about this game, guys. But anyways, let me know what you guys are hyped for. Plenty of other creators were also going to be uploading their perspectives on the call as well, so if you guys want to check those out, be sure to check out some of my fellow friends. You'll more than likely see videos from JGod, you know, plenty of other creators that were in this call, because there were a lot of creators there. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you to Activision for allowing me to join in and give some feedback and discuss with the developers about the future of Warzone. The future is bright, ladies and gentlemen, and I am very excited once the more details come out regarding this news. But anyways, I will catch you guys later. Thank you guys again for watching, and it is your boy Connor, your Primitive AK, signing out. Peace out, fellas.